As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff and Boone. It is Wednesday, July 9th, and we are back. Starts the day of the doc. John Maakaron. We got plenty of stuff to get to. Stuff coming out about, these executive scouts, coaches, ranking lists. We got another one. Edges. Where does Aidan Hutchinson rank? And we got some training camp talk to get to. Zach McKinstry is an all-star. So, Boone, it's going to be a good show.
It is. It's gonna. I'm pumped up. You broke the news right there. The breaking news. Zach McKinstry, all-star for the Detroit Pistons. Hey, congrats to the man. Central Michigan product. Congrats to Zach McKinstry, man. I keep seeing Zach McHimstry. I keep seeing that. I like that nickname.
Zach McHimstry? Yeah,
that's a great nickname to have.
I do want to address something with the people. I can confirm I do not have a spray tan. There are
rumors.
There was rumors coming out about a potential spray tan because of the color of my camera. I did fix it. So no spray tan. All right.
Oh,
no spray
man.
tan. So hopefully we got that all cleared up. All those rumors are gone. So appreciate the patience, but no spray tan for Jeff. I can promise. And the Tigers did lose, by the way. I don't know if you saw it.
They did. That was brutal. I literally was watching all the way up until the 4th or 5th inning on my phone until I came up here to do the show. And in the time and I have like a 5-minute drive of me getting ready, finishing up dinner, cleaning stuff up, getting up here to do the show. In that time span, by the time I sit down here about 7:30, it was like 7-3. And I was like, what just happened? Like, what? It was, they were up 3-2. I just figured I would just hurry up and get up here to the office and get some stuff done. And it just completely threw me off there. I was like, wow, what a bad, very unfortunate. Yeah, very unfortunate.
It's tough. We had Chris on yesterday. We were hyping him up. It's one loss, but yeah, it's just the timing of things, I guess.
Oh no.
But what?
There's rumors, Jeff. People are starting to call. They're starting to call you into Donald Iafrate.
Oh,
I'm not saying I didn't start that. I mean,
hey,
I'm seeing it.
The spray tan stuff was killing me. It was hilarious.
First thing this morning, I opened up the app and it's just like, why is Jeff so orange? This guy looks like an Oompa Loompa.
Okay, I didn't see that. I think you just came up with that.
I just came up with that. Yeah, that's on me.
You just came up with that. That's fucked up. That is
I had too many orange-sicles. What's going on here?
It's a good comp, though. I'm done. I did. For some reation, I never noticed it, but I was watching it yesterday, and I was like, holy shit, I do look like I have a spray tan. So
when I saw the first comment, I turned it on. I was like, oh, whoa.
Yeah. The Oompa Loompa one was a freestyle comment. That wasn't, that was.
Yeah, no, there was no one commented that. No one commented that.
I don't appreciate that. I do not. But we already addressed it. Zach McKinstry, all-star. Shout out to him, man. Tigers, at least you're getting more squeaking in there, getting into the all-star team. So that is big news. Another thing that happened, here we go, John Maakaron coming in. Jeez. Okay. Before we move on, shout out to the doc, member for 8 months, Donald Iafrate, make the Lions great again. If only I could do an impression, I'm not going to attempt it. So I'm not even going to attempt it. Just going to leave that alone. John, the doc, the DOC, we'll see you later. Appreciate you, brother, being a member for 8 months. Can we address this bowl that I see on my timeline? And I already talked about it today. Appreciate everyone who watched the video, by the way. Adam Rank of NFL Network, who we're actually we're trying to get on the show. I think it'd be a really good guest to get on because he's opinionated about the Lions. He's a Bears fan. His perspective would be great. It'd be hilarious.
Question. Maybe this is an off-air question. I told you, I don't know if people knew this, but I had texted you 2 years ago on Woodward Nights. Adam was supposed to come on the show. He did one of these, and I know someone who actually knows him, and I reached out. I got his contact. I have his phone number, and I reached out, connected, get him on the show, and he's supposed to come on at like 9:00 Eastern. I didn't realize, and he didn't realize, this was a mutual thing, that we were in completely different time zones. He's in California. We're in Michigan. It's like Eastern and West Coast. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And we're doing the show, and I'm like, I guess he's not coming on. Shout out Broder. I look at Broder during the break. I said, just not hearing nothing back, man. Like, I think it's and we put it out there. Then all of a sudden, I think, Jeff, I was either with you or with Easy. We were at what was that? What's that bar that's down in Birmingham, a little ways from where the studio was? Mount Chalet.
sounds familiar.
Mount
There's a
Chalet
lot
or
of
something.
places.
We were having some dinner after the show. It was like 10:30. Get a text from Adam Rank. Hey, I'm ready to hop on. Blah blah blah. And I go, oh no. And then we both realized he texted me right away and said time difference. And I said, yep, time difference. That's it's on us. That was a big mistake. So I don't know if I should just I have his number. I'll throw that out there. Don't know if I should. I haven't texted in 2 years. Just throw out a text. What's up, Adam? Boom.
Absolutely. Because
All
we
right.
need to address whatever this is. Whatever this is. And by the way, the doc, speaking of the DOC, he posted an article and it showed his last 3 records for the Lions. I didn't even talk about this in the video, which I think is hilarious. He had the Lions last year, I think, going 10-7. I think 10-7, and then the year prior was 9-8, and the year prior was 5-12. So he's
been off.
this year. So 10-7 to now 8-9. It's like but
He was in our comment section last night. Someone had commented something like, this guy gets it wrong every year. And he goes, well, actually, last year I was right. I had them winning more games last year. And he's like, I had them making the playoffs, but losing a playoff game. So technically I was right. I was like, they were 15-2. You had them at 10 wins. You were 5 wins off. What if you had a team winning 10 games and they won 5? That's essentially how far off you were last year.
Well, this is what's crazy to me. Is he had the Lions at 10-7 with Ben Johnson as OC. Now Ben Johnson as the head coach of the Bears, he has them at 11-6. So the same guy that was a part of the staff that you thought would go 10-6 is on the Bears staff. Now they're going to go 11-6 or 10-7. Now 11-6. Got to be consistent, okay? Because then people start to throw out the biased accusations, and with that evidence, probably not that far off. But he came out with his Lions record prediction, and I will say, we've discussed the whole losing to contenders thing with Klotzy. We had that conversation, and you made great points. Adam Rank took that to a whole nother level. Like, let's see how he did it. All right, this is the graphic, and you see it here. Has the Lions at 8-9. Has them starting 3-2, then going 3-3. Then after the bye week, with the Bucs included, 5-3, then 5-4, 5-5, 6-5, like hanging on a one above 500, and then ending the season under 500 at 8-9. He has them losing to the Bengals, the Ravens, 2 very good teams in the NFC, Chiefs, who just made the Super Bowl, so 3 contenders all out. I don't even know if you'd say the Bengals are contenders, but whatever. They lost to them. The Commanders, another contender in the NFC. Oh, yeah, another one. Eagles, they lose to them as well. You can't see it, but one of those games is the Packers. Has them losing to the Packers. Has them losing to the Vikings and the Bears at the end of the year. So let me get this straight. This is where I'm confused. All right? This is where I'm really struggling with this. You know what Dan Campbell's record is in the NFC North?
Yeah.
You know what Dan Campbell's record is in the NFC North?
I think he's lost maybe 6 games max in the NFC North, if I'm not wrong.
I think, and I have to...
In 4 or 5 years.
I have to double check this. Let me see. Because I want to make sure I'm right. Hold on. Lions record. I want to make sure, because I said it earlier, but I want to double check this since 20. Dan Campbell is... Okay, I was right. Just making sure. His record in the NFC North is 17-7. 17-7. And by the way, undefeated last year in the NFC North. But this year, oh yeah, a healthy roster. Everyone's returning. They go 500.
I have no words for it.
And wasn't that division good last year? I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah. I get what, like, listen, we've had this conversation, Jeff, about this Lions record. I get it's a tough schedule. remember when I said, hey, break this schedule up into like threes or kind of look at it in three different ways? The first half of the schedule, once you go, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Bucks, Commanders, like that first two columns there, that's tough. But I mean, you can't tell me like this is my whole point with this whole thing, Jeff, and I think you're finally seeing it a little bit when I was arguing with Klotz about it, is I understand there's going to be losses in this schedule. If you don't think there are, you have a problem, right? Like you're a slappy. There are losses. But if you are going to sit here and tell me that a Dan Campbell Detroit Lions team with everyone essentially returning, guys healthy again, you're going to sit here and tell me with a straight face, Jeff, Adam Rank, Lukas, that they lose every game to a Super Bowl contending team. Every single one. That's where I start to lose a little like, okay, what are we doing here now? And that was my problem when we did our prediction, our early predictions. It's my problem with Adam Rank. Like, Jeff, they're not going to lose to the Ravens, Bengals, Chiefs, Commanders, Rams, and the Eagles. That's 6 games. They are going to beat. Like, my whole point with this argument a month ago when we did this, and I know you guys were pushing back a little bit, and people were like, Boone, is like, if you are a Super Bowl contender, which I think we all agree this Lions team is, you probably need to go 3-3 in those games. You need to. Like, that's the expectation. But to have them going 0-6 in those 6 games, the toughest 6 games of the year, it's unrealistic. It's wrong. It's just it's as Stephen A. Smith says, it's blasphemy. Like it's unbelievable that you like. Do you see where I'm coming from now? Because I think Klotz had them going like 1-5 in those games. I'm like, a Dan Campbell team is not going to go 1-5 in those 6 games. I'll put a guarantee on it. I'll lock that in. There's 0 chance that happens. He's going to have this team prepared.
I see what you're saying. I think you're right. I think the problem I have with 8 and 9, though, like at least Klotzy had him at 11-6. All right, we could talk all we want and say the contender thing, but not only do they lose every contender, Adam Rank has them 500 in the NFC North, dropping them to 8 and 9 and missing the playoffs. So here's the thing, and this isn't even about Adam Rank because I got tagged on Twitter. It's like, why even give him attention? Honestly, well, number one, because I want to respond to it, but number two, it's not even about Adam Rank. It's more just about the crowd of people that may share this same opinion. It's really just addressing that. It's not just Adam Rank. It's whoever is down on the Lions to that extent. 8 and 9 is ridiculous. If they go 8 and 9, something happened. Like Jared Goff had to have blew his knee out or something.
Yeah, you fired your OC, like something.
Or you fire like both, even like OC, even like having a bad OC. Like the example I brought up was the Eagles. The Eagles made the Super Bowl. After that, lost the coordinators. They got new coordinators that were bad. They still went like 10-7 or 11-6. And they fired, 100%. And they were like, this is a bad year. They fired their coordinators. They didn't even go 8 and 9. And they had shit coordinators. Like, now, when we have that conversation about coordinators, it's like big picture. It's like Super Bowl we're talking about. They're going to make the playoffs, even if John Morton and Calvin Shepard aren't that good. Like, they'll still make the playoffs. They have too much talent not to. Now, if injuries were to occur or, I don't even know what else, what would even could happen. A meteor hits Ford Field in the middle of a game. I don't know.
I don't see a world though. Like, and Adam's probably a good dude, but I just don't see a world where he thinks that he's being serious with these records. Like, really think about it, Jeff. He gave him 9 wins 2 years ago. What did they do? They went and won double digit and won 12 games and went to the NFC Championship game. So he was way off there. The guy had him winning 10 games last year. 10 games is in the NFL the last few years. That there's a lot of teams in the wild card spot that's winning 10 games. So you're essentially just being like, hey, this Lions team's, after going to the NFC Championship game, after returning and adding free agent pieces, you're saying that they're going to only be a wild card team last year? Okay, that makes sense. What did they do? They went and won 15 games and had a bye in the 1 seed, right? Whether they lost or not in the playoffs, we're talking about this is a regular season prediction. He had him winning 10 games. He was 5 games off. 5. So over the last 2 seasons, he's he had them winning double-digit games once, and it was bare minimum, and they've won 12 and 15 games both years, respectively. Like, what are we talking about here? Now you're going to say they're going to go to 8 wins? You're going to move them all the way down to 8? again, like if it's 11, 12, I can respect that. Even 10, I think I would kind of be a little like, do you really think they're going to take a five game step back? Like, no, like I think it's realistic to say, hey, and this is where you kind of start gaining the respect, in my opinion. Hey, they won 15 last year. They're not going to win 15 again. There are people who think they will. They're not. But saying, hey, they're going to take a step back to 12 games, fair. Like, let's be realistic. They're not taking a 7-game step back, though. Like, what are we talking about here? And everyone's rich. You're talking about they won 15 games with half of a roster. Everyone's back. Everyone. Healthy. Ready to go.
Right.
I don't care if you got new coordinators. New coordinators isn't a 7-game difference.
No,
that's a big difference
not.
In the NFL. 7 games is a big difference. I don't care what the schedule looks like.
If the coordinators are a 7-game difference, we got to look at Dan Campbell. Like if it's that bad, that's ridiculous. And I'm
like,
not saying that's not going to happen because Dan, he's a great coach.
Like Adam, I would love to know his opinion on Dan. I hope you get him on because there's no way you look at Dan Campbell as a leader and be like, hey, year 1, they won 3 games, 4 games. And the next year they start 1-6. And then he ends up turning them around to winning 9 games. And then in year 2, he wins 9 games. Year 3 wins 12. Year 4, 15. And you're going to sit there and be like, oh, yeah, Dan Campbell just can't handle these guys. He can't handle change. To me, it's disrespectful to Dan Campbell. Acting like he can't run a football program.
Yeah, it is disrespectful. It is disrespectful. There's 2 comments I want to bring up here. Shout out Ben Blue. He said, Brad's seat's getting warm as he getting warm AF if we somehow go 8-9. I only see Dan getting put on the hot seat if we go worse than 8-9 and miss the playoffs in horrific fashion. I would say it's hard because there's no context. But if the roster's fully healthy and they go 8-9, I mean, you go right to Dan Campbell first. Because they have talent. I don't think it'd be a Brad thing. Now, if the only weakness on the roster is we go back to this edge thing, like, yeah, maybe you bring up Brad with the edge thing, but I don't know how you go to Brad over Dan if they go 8-9 with a healthy roster. It's like he's coaching, like Brad's not, what does Brad have to do with the play on the field? You know, like I don't get that. But again, if Marcus Davenport goes down and they don't have anything at their defensive end 2 spot, then we could talk about Brad. But that would be the only really way, in my opinion, that we have that conversation. But JT Olsen,
I don't even know. Even if they went 8-9 or won 9 games, I don't think you would even have I mean, yeah, you would. Like, whose fault is it? You'd start pointing fingers a little bit.
You're not
I don't know if you get into a conversation of like, hey, this guy's on a hot seat or not. You don't win 12 games and then 15 games and then have a little bit of a down year in hot seat. It's not like in Philly. They were doing that in Philly with Sirianni, and then he went and won a Super Bowl. And then they were like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have been doing that with him.
Hey, well, it's like this one. Who dat? Like, I feel like Jared Goff will get run out of town before Brad. Like, yeah, if they go 8-9 and Jared Goff doesn't play well, like, yeah, we're gonna talk about that'd be the big thing, Jared Goff. But JT Olsen, this is another thing, man. Like, JT, shout out to you, but like, I get this statement, and I mean this in the most respectful way, is lazy. And the reason why I think it's lazy, JT, is because when you say there is no doubt a pathway for the Lions to make the playoffs, you can say that about every fucking team.
Same with the Bucks. There's definitely a pathway with them not making it. Yeah, the Bucks for sure.
You know, but I agree with this point. Predicting it's pretty bold. It's just like if I were to say the Bucks aren't going to make the playoffs, there's a pathway. Of course, there's a fucking pathway.
Pathway for the Chiefs. There's a pathway for the Eagles.
For every team to not make the playoffs. But he is right. Predicting it's bold. It's very bold. You're going to be at an island with that. But yeah, like there's a pathway for the Eagles to not make the playoffs. I mean, it could happen. You know, Jalen Hurts could get hurt, and then Saquon goes down, and then now it's like we could say that about pretty much every contender, in my opinion. So shout out to JT though. But yeah, I disagree with that. Like, no doubt a pathway. Of course.
Would you? Serious question. Crazy Clown just put this in here. I don't know. I can't believe there are fans that would trade Jared Goff for Stafford right now. Even up. I don't know what even up means.
Even like 1 for 1? Like,
is this a conversation right now? Are there fans actually saying that?
I don't know if fans are saying that. I wouldn't do it now.
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't do it now. I would keep Goff. But if we're talking about the year they flip-flopped, like that was Stafford was they won
Did
the
you
Super Bowl. Like,
did you
that's
get to
that.
watch quarterback at all?
No, I didn't get it yet. I didn't get to
Dude,
watch it.
I
saw
watched the
clips
first
from
2
it, but I didn't watch
episodes. And maybe this is just me, and I've been a Jared Goff guy. It changes a little bit, even through the first couple episodes, like perspective on Jared Goff, like what he's about. It's kind of a little eye-opening.
Well, I did see some clips where you get to see the competitive side.
He's a dog. People
Yeah.
don't. And even he was talking about the Rams. I know a lot of people. He's talked about it a lot, but he like went in depth in a lot of different things. And even with Dan, remember how like last year, and if you probably saw this clip this year, and we were having the conversation, you were talking about Hendon Hooker last year, which I know you took a big step back on that. Dan Campbell had a sit down conversation in the first episode, and was like getting choked up, and was like, I'm going to war with Jared Goff. Like, that is my guy. That's my quarterback forever. Like, it sounds like they're never going to move on from Jared Goff until he retires. That's what it sounds like. But it's like Jared's. I think this actually is. I actually said this. Remember last week when we talked about it coming out? We were like, how is this going to perceive Jared Goff? Like, is it going to be good or bad? I think this was the best thing for Jared Goff, because I think for the longest people had that mindset of remember exactly what I said, Jeff? No one ever got to see like the outgoing side, like how Josh Allen and Mahomes and
the personality.
People see the personality of the superstars. You see that of Jared Goff, and it actually opens up another door of it being like, oh no, he should be in these conversations. Like, this guy is like that. Like, he really is, because you never get to see that fire or anything. It's really just show up and play. But and then seeing how his coaches talk about him, it's like it's an incredible. You got to watch
Sean
it.
McVay talk.
No. He did say, dude, he was literally like, he brought up, and we've never heard Jared talk about it. Jared was literally just like, listen, I didn't care that I was getting traded. Like, obviously it was like a blind side, but he said the thing I cared about is like, I didn't know it was happening. Like, he was like, he was like, human decency, just, hey, let me know that, hey, there's a conversation potentially going on so I can prepare for it, or just in my mind, I'm ready for that if it does happen. And he said no one ever said a word to him, nothing. And then just got a call from Sean McVay, hey, you're traded, boom, you're done. And then hangs up. And he said 30 seconds later, he was getting calls from Brad and Dan. And he was like, no one in the LA organization gave him any warning. Like, nothing.
That's crazy.
Not one conversation, he said.
I mean, he was the quarterback.
And I think his last year there, I think he was playing through like a wrist injury or something on his throwing arm. So
he had the injury. He came in for that Packers game, and they won. They beat the Packers, and he had like a messed up thumb.
That's what it was, a thumb. Yeah. So like,
I remember that.
Kind of disrespectful, dude. Good for Brad though, going to being like, I'll do it. Yeah. I'll take him.
Yeah, I'll take that. He talked about that also on Field Yates' podcast, Brad Holmes. We posted that clip on our Twitter as well. But the trade, he was like, it's got to be one of the best trades of all time. Like, it's got to be one of the best trades.
Jared's still young. People are like, he's 30. Like, come on, dude. He's young.
Yeah, I can't. I'll check it out. I don't know if probably people in the chat have already seen it too. But is it like episode by episode, or is it all out?
It's all out. Yeah, I'm through episode 2 right now. So after the show, I'm actually just gonna run home and watch a couple hours of it before I head to bed. I'm gonna try and get done with it tonight or tomorrow.
All right. Well, I do want to show this ESPN thing with Aidan Hutchinson, because Jared Goff was able to come back in his career. We're hoping Aidan does the same. ESPN ranked edges. We're gonna find out where they have Aidan. All right. We posted it already on socials, Instagram and Twitter, which you should be following, of course. But this is one of those lists, man. Executives, coaches, scouts. And they ranked the running backs so accurately. So we're going to see, joking, especially in the middle to late part of that list. So we're going to see how this shapes up with edges and see where Aidan's ranked. All right. So let's get to it. Number 1, Myles Garrett. Very, very simple.
Fair. We was 1 last year, and he's.
Yeah, he's 1 to 1. Yeah, I don't know who ranked him 4. Like, these people I need names. But
you know what it is, Jeff? If I'm just being honest, I know exactly what it is. It's executive, scouts, and what, coaches? It's all 3.
Yes.
It's just the people, like, there's probably Dallas Cowboys executive or a Dallas Cowboys scout or coach that's putting their guy first. That's all it is. I don't think it's anything more than that.
Oh, I guess that is a good point.
Or like think about what division are they in?
Yeah.
AFC South. So then the Pittsburgh Steelers, all three of their coach, scout, whatever, TJ 1, and they're probably putting Myles Garrett 4 to kind of skew this a little. They know what they're doing a little bit.
Number 2, that guy you just mentioned. Number 2, TJ Watt.
Best defensive player in the NFL.
So can we just state this before we keep moving? Number 1 and 2 don't disagree.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. No, I'm fine with that. I think TJ Watt's 1 personally, but
either way, so I would, whatever you want to do. If 1 or 2, I don't care about. Those 2, I would agree. Top 2. Number 3, Micah Parsons. This one, I go either way on, if I'm being honest.
I would drop Micah down. I'm not a Micah guy. I'm not.
You know what though, Boone? Let me tell you this. Okay, we just had this conversation. Remember yesterday about the Cowboys? Let's say Micah was on the Dolphins. I think we'd be like, this guy's 3.
No.
He's getting like 15 sacks a year since he got in the league. It's
Micah, yeah, but there's something with Micah for me. I don't know what it is. He just bothers me. It's like Joel Embiid. I hate Joel Embiid. You know this.
I get that.
I've said this for years. And you know what? He can play. Like he's a good ball player. I'll put him in my top 5. But a consensus, just like he's never had 15 sacks in his career. Trey Hendrickson
I think he entered the league and had like 12 or 11.
Yeah, but he's never had 15. He's going into year 5, never had 15. Trey Hendrickson's at 17 back-to-back years. Look at Myles Garrett, what Myles Garrett does.
Yeah, I understand that.
He's not on Myles Garrett's level,
but he also had 12 sacks in 13 games this year.
Good for him. Are we going to do? Okay, so I want you to be consistent then. If we're going to do, he was on track for like 17. When we talk about Hutch, I would, you know what? Put Hutch at number 3.
Right,
put Hutch at number 3 because he was on track for 20. If we're doing that,
Micah had his first 3 years 13 sacks, 13 and a half sacks, 14 sacks.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah. Okay. I see it here. I'm looking.
Crazy. And then
listen, that's why I have him top 4, top 5. But I just
he's a sack machine.
Oh man. Yeah. He hasn't hit 15 yet. I want to see this guy go out there and hit 15. I want to see it. He complains a lot. He focuses on a lot of things, not football. In my opinion, like I'm not going to fully take this. I mean, if we want to take this top 10 and just strictly off play of the like on the field play, okay. But like, there's just so many things about Micah Parsons that just bothers me. Him going at Detroit. Yeah, him going at Detroit, like him just constantly being on these podcasts saying the dumbest things and trying to be clickbait. Like he's just one of those guys. Like I can't do it. Like I can't. And
I get that.
That's why he falls because of that. Now, if we're going strictly game, respect game, I'll respect some game here, and I'll say throw him at 3-4. I'm fine with that. But I think it's crazy. Like Trey, what's crazy is he put some numbers up. But like this guy Trey Hendrickson's putting 17 and a half sacks up back-to-back years, and people still just don't talk about him as a top 4 edge rusher in the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's Sam Connie's on your ass now, Sam.
But Flannel, to be fair, you are someone, Flannel, who will discount players based off of that stuff. We all do it. We all do it. We did it with Flannel, and maybe I'm wrong, Jeff. You were on the show with Flannel. Did it with J-Mo. Discounted J-Mo because he wasn't having the performance on the field, and he had the stuff going on off the field as well. And it was like, what's going on?
But Micah's had the performance on the field.
Yeah, but they haven't, like, what has it accomplished to? Like, what has it come? At least with Trey Hendrickson, he's getting out there putting numbers up, and they went to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that
what have the Cowboys done where it's like, hey, Micah's really helped this team get to a Super Bowl?
Yeah, they okay. Yeah,
he's talked more than he's won in his NFL career. Fine. If you want that to be what you're known for, go ahead. Hop on the mic.
Yeah, go join the WWE, buddy.
Yeah, right, dude. Like I don't care, but I'm gonna hold that accountable too, just like I would with other players as well. Like I do with the Joel Embiid in the NBA. I don't care about your MVP. You haven't won anything, and all you do is talk like you've won 10 championships. Sit down and go win first.
Well, let's get to number 4. Okay, number 4.
By the way, what does JFC mean? Flannel keeps saying JFC.
Maybe it's the word that comes to mind. I'm not going to say like it.
And by the way, I'm not comparing J-Mo to Micah. Let's not get that far into it. It's more so it's just kind of comparing like, hey, that type of stuff also does have to factor into when you're putting these players on a list. Like, I'm not saying J-Mo and Micah are the same, but I'm saying like let's stay consistent. If we're gonna knock some players for things that they do potentially off the field, got to do it with others. And Micah is just constantly just doing just like in the headlines off the field, whether it's just the most random things of all time.
Well, Max Crosby comes in at 4. Don't really hate this.
I love Max. I'm
because he's done it. You got to think context. He's done it essentially on an island the last couple of years, man. I mean, he's had no help, and he's just been game wrecking. So I gotta respect that. I gotta respect that. You know?
I've put myself in a pretzel here. Max Crosby has not hit 15 sacks in his career.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And he hasn't really won anything as well, like Mike. Same as Micah.
Yeah.
He's more consistent, though, like 10, 7, 8, 12.5, 14.5, 7.5. Man had 16.5 tackles for a loss in 2023. Yeah. I mean, he's
a great run defender. Like
very consistent, stays healthy. I don't think he missed a game until this last season. Last season was the first season in 6 years, I believe it was, or 5 or 6 years. He played in every single game for the Raiders. Every game. It's ridiculous, dude. Yeah.
I agree. This one. Okay, now we're getting into like kind of the debatable range. Even though I like Max,
I'll you know what? I'll say this, Jeff. I apologize. 1 through 4 is perfect. We'll stick with it.
Okay. All right. So we get into 5. Nick Bosa from the 49ers. He was the 4th ranked edge last year on this list. Drops to 5. Some clueless scout executive GM had him unranked, apparently.
Yeah, I saw that. I noticed that this morning. I was a little confused on why you would
makes no sense. He's a defensive player of the year winner. But
even if he had a bad year.
Yeah, I think the thing with Nick Bosa is I think the 49ers suffered. They just kind of went through it last year, and people kind of forgot how good of a stretch Nick Bosa was going through. I mean, he had a 3-year span of 15.5 sacks, 18.5 sacks, and 10.5 sacks. I think, personally, you could make the argument that Nick Bosa is better than Max Crosby. I think you could make the argument he's better than Micah as well. He's up. Yeah, no. You could argue he should be higher. Honestly, yeah. I don't. Last year, what do you have? He had nine sacks in 14 games. He had a down year. But
if you take Nick Bosa, Jeff, and he actually has let's say he gets to 12 last year sacks, and he plays in every game, which he probably, if he played in every game, he would probably hit 12.5 and a little bit more productive. And you got to think like the 49ers were pretty down last year. You're probably putting him top 3.
I agree.
Going into last year, like him being ranked last year 4th after coming off a 10.5 and 18.5 and 15.5, and they came off a Super Bowl appearance. Like that's kind of actually crazy.
Well, number 6, we'll move it. Nick Bosa, we kind of agree there. Number 6, Trey Hendrickson. No Aidan. All right, we're 6 edges in. No Aidan. Trey Hendrickson, back-to-back seasons, 17+ sacks. This is where we talked about this before the show, Boone.
Yep.
How are we ranking edges? Are we ranking them based on what they do statistically? Is it projection? Is it, capability? Like, what are we doing here? Because Trey Hendrickson, you brought this up earlier, based on production, You could probably argue he should be higher. I mean, back-to-back 17.5 sacks is crazy on a defense that has nobody. But they're probably looking at it like, he's 30. You know, he's had some career years kind of later in his career. Well, not later, but he's 30. So he's probably going down the other side of the mountain here. I don't know how you kind of judge like Trey Hendrickson. I don't know how you feel about Trey. I think he's, you could argue probably a little underrated. He's 6. But he is, I mean, I don't think it's right now at this point, Wednesday, July 9, to have him over Hutch just because Hutch suffered that injury. I don't think it's like blasphemous, to quote what you said earlier with Stephen A. Smith. I don't think it's blasphemous.
I will be honest.
Because if Aidan played the whole season, it would probably be like Aidan's better.
Yes, 100%.
But with the injury, it's tough.
I'm interested to see why people like continue to put Trey Hendrickson in, like, because to me, I think like if you're top 3, 4, you're probably in tier 1 edge rusher. I don't know why people just keep like not putting Trey Hendrickson in that tier 1. The guy of the last like 5 or 6 years has been insane. 17.5, 2 times. I think he had a year of 14 or 15 sack year as well in Cincinnati. He's only been there 4 years. In 3 of the 4, I mean, the man's put up 14 or 15 plus sacks in every one of those years. So it's kind of incredible, to be honest. It's insane the numbers he puts up. And it's not on a great defense. It's kind of like how we had the conversation with Max Crosby, where it's like Max is
worse defense too.
But that's why I'm like, why doesn't Trey even in the conversation with Max Crosby when Max is on a bad defense as well? Max is only out there getting 13, 14. He's never exceeded 15 sacks. And this guy's gotten 17.5 twice.
Yep.
And there's like no sign of slowing down.
I think it's about time now that we've gotten through 6 edge rushers that we go to the chat. Like, I'll just ask, is anyone upset that Aidan has not appeared on this list? Let's just get to it. Like, is that a fair question? Is it disrespectful that Aidan has not appeared on this list? Or do you think the people ranked ahead of him? Yes or no? Just say yes or no. Yes, it's disrespectful, or no, it's not. Because that's really why we're going through this. All right. It's judging where Hutch should be and will be ranked on this list, because we've gotten through 6, Boone, and these guys are all pretty good players. Aidan's a pretty good player, but I think the injury, man, I think that's really the big one, and we're going to find out. And I see people already saying kind of back and forth. I see no, and then no. And then AG's Burner says he was on pace to be clearly top 5. Ben Blue, not that upset, to be honest. You can move the top 7 in a bunch of different orders. Not disrespectful, Philip says. Whodad says it's not disrespectful at all. AG also said he was on pace to be a top 3 guy. That's kind of where I'm at with it, Boone. That's kind of where I'm at. And that brings us to the next player, Aidan Hutchinson at 7.
I mean.
Yep. Aidan Hutchinson at 7.
I'm interested to hear what you think on this, because everyone in the chat, and it seems like it's almost like an 80, 90%, like, yeah, they're fine with where he's at. I hate to say it. All 80%, 90% of you guys are dead wrong. Dead wrong.
Oh, no.
I mean, I don't really care. Like, I like to look at last year, right? This guy, Aidan Hutchinson, Jeff Iafrate, through how many games did he go through last year? 5?
Yep.
Was it 5 games? He had 7.5 sacks through 5 games. Let me do some quick math for you guys real quick. I'm not a good mental math guy. So that's, what is that? 7.5 divided by 5. He was averaging 1.5 a game. If he played in all 17 games, listen, I know, hey, Jeff, I know he wasn't going to do this. He was on pace for 25.5 sacks. Now, I might be wrong. That's the record. And you guys could tell me if I'm wrong again. Did anyone outside of the man's leg being snapped in half, did anyone see any like form of him slowing down? It felt like he was like just getting started in that Dallas Cowboys game. And it was like, He could have played the next 10 weeks and it felt like he's going to keep dominating. And there was no one in the NFL. He was going up I know he went up against some backup tackles, but like you could have thrown him up against anyone and he would have dominated them last year. He was in a different zone. And it was like, you haven't seen a player do something like that through those 5 weeks in a long time. Like Micah Parsons dominates. Has Micah Parsons in the last couple years, and maybe I'm probably wrong with this, but like, I don't know if Micah played all year last year, Jeff, and through probably like 8 weeks, he probably didn't even pass Aidan Hutchinson up in sacks through like 8 weeks. Do you remember that stat, Jeff, when we were in like week 10 or something? They were like doing like Hutch went down in week 5 or 6. Do you remember the stat? It was like week 10. We were doing a show, a pregame show.
Still up there in sacks.
And he was leading the league in pressures in like week 10.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like there's no question. He's not the 7th best pass rusher in the NFL. The man is top 5, and I wouldn't even be mad at putting him at number 4 over Max Crosby and saying after this year, if he goes out there and puts a full 17 games together, he gets 15, 16, 17 sacks that he was on pace for, you have to put him in the top 3. You have to put him over Micah Parsons at that point. And I get it, line caller, the would have, should have, could have. Okay, it's the same thing that we had the conversation here with Micah Parsons that only had 12 sacks this year because he got hurt. It's the same thing with those guys.
Yeah, no.
Aidan Hutchinson was at 7.5. He was on pace for 20. Max Crosby's never hit 15. Micah Parsons never hit 15. This guy was on pace for 20 plus, and there was no slowing down. If he doesn't break his leg, he gets 15 to 20 without a doubt. He led the league in pressures through like week 10. He didn't even play weeks 5 through 10.
Flannel Sam is summoned. He said, so in Booner's world, Aidan's 25.5 hypothetical sacks are more important than
actual production, Flannel. Like, okay, like Micah, these guys, you can't tell me, Flannel, why. Like, this is where, and Jeff, me and you actually had this conversation before the show. And when we get into these rankings, yeah. And I feel like it was we got somewhere with this conversation because there's so many rankings in the offseason. The conversation of when you do these rankings, are you basing it off of production,
skill,
or skill, and how good the player is when you watch the film and you see him on the field? Right. Because if we're basing it off that, it's Myles Garrett, it's TJ Watt, it's Aidan Hutchinson. If you're looking at based off play of if you watch film from weeks 1 to 5, Jeff.
So we're only going the 5 weeks. We're not.
But I'm saying watching the film, like because we're taking the production out, just watching the film. Like, does this guy dominate? How does he play? Aidan Hutchinson's film from weeks 1 to 5 was probably some of the best edge rushing film that you'll see in the last couple of years.
It was. He was dominant. He would have won probably.
He had 4 sacks versus
4.5. Well, hold on. I would, if I had to say where I would put Hutch, I would probably put him. I would make the argument top 5. I think that's probably where I would put him. I would still say Nick Bosa and Micah. I would give them the nod, but I think that will be less of a conversation this year. That's where I'm at with it. But I do get your point, and I do agree with like kind of how confusing sometimes these rankings are a little bit, because Aidan, yes, I'm not going to take anything away. He was dominant.
Yeah.
Dominant through the first stretch of games. I mean, he just was. And even J Meltz says he had 4.5 in one game against the Bucs. Yes, he had a good day, but let's not act like he was overly dominant in the other few games. But the pressures you brought up.
He led the league in pressures like through like week 10. It's incredible.
He was getting to the quarterback consistently. And if you want to bring up who he was facing at left tackle and all this stuff and get in nitpick, it's like, okay, go ahead.
I'm sure every edge rusher does that.
He didn't have 4 sacks a game, but he was there a lot. So shout out Flannel Sam, man. I wish we could.
Yeah.
I wish you and Sam could just duke it out right here, honestly. Shout out to him.
I'm trying to figure out what that abbreviation stands for. I still can't figure it out.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it, but you just think of like Jesus.
Okay.
Effing
I got it.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding. Got it.
Yeah.
I love Flannel, though. Me and Flannel typically, I would say, me and him have gotten into it on some things, especially like the Tyrese Halliburton thing. I feel like him and I, especially when it comes to football, we're typically, I feel like me and him are a little lockstep a little bit at times. So I thought Flannel would want to agree with the Hutch thing. I didn't realize that I think Hutch, like on-field play, when he's healthy and going at his best, I think Aidan Hutchinson's top 3 or 4 in the NFL at his position.
Well, Flannel said he was going insane last year on a small sample size. He just suffered an unfortunate injury, and that's part of the story. I think that's the only reason he's 7, I think, is because of that.
Do you remember at the beginning of the season, Jeff, when we talked about tiers for edge rushers? And remember when Klotz was on, we were talking with Klotz about it. And Klotz said, I can't put him over guys like Josh Hines-Allen and Trey Hendrickson and those guys yet. And he had him in those tiers. And what did I say? I said, after 2024, there's going to be I promise you'll watch and see what Hutch does. There's going to be no question he no longer is in that tier. And about a month ago, we had the conversation. What tier is he in now? And I think we all had the conversation and agreed, hey, that guy's in tier 1. When he's playing and healthy, he's a tier 1 edge rusher. He's up there with those guys now. There's no more question. That's my opinion.
I want to say this just to people that were wondering. So Hutch was 7, 8 was Will Anderson, 9 was Daniil Hunter, and 10 was Jared Verse. Those are the last 3.
I wonder who got left off the list. I didn't see the honorable mention. Is there honorable mention?
Yeah. Honorable mentions: Brian Burns, Nick Bonito, Jonathan Greenard, George Karlaftis. So Josh Hines-Allen got some votes, but he didn't make the honorable mentions.
Wow. Did he have a down year?
Yeah, Rashawn Gary didn't make. He got some votes, didn't make the honorable mentions. Trevon Walker.
Kyle Van Noy isn't honorable mention?
No. That's the thing. People, how are you valuing it? Is it production or is it like that guy just ran into sacks all year?
That's fair. I think that's fair.
All due respect to him. But let's bring on the DOC.
Hey, real quick, too. I didn't even mention, and Flannel just put up there, the man would have won Defensive Player of the Year as well. Let's not forget that.
Oh,
and hold on.
Oh, yeah.
We're still going. This is the first ticket in town. This was the very first ticket of this made in town. Just want that to know. I know the doc is in the background there. Shout out John Maakaron. But it's the first ticket in town there.
Before we get the DOC on, I got to tell the people about the sponsor of today's show. All right. And that is the wonderful people at Comer and Cross. So let me do that 1-day installation concrete floor coatings. I know you guys are homeowners. I know you guys, there are some of you that are sick and tired of staring at your cracked, stained garage floor. So hit up Comer and Cross. During their summer installation sale, they're offering 12 months, same as cash, or $500 in savings. All you got to do is call the number. We all got a cell phone. Use it. Call the number, 248-834-3488. They transform patios, pool decks, basements, even driveways. They'll move the stuff out for you. So call the number or book your free estimate at comercross.com. Tell me friends over at Crunch Time Sports sent you. Crunch Time Sports sent you, because we'll love that. And support the company, man. They're local. They're doing some great things. All right, let's get to the DOC because he has arrived in the building. All right, the DOC, the publisher of Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated, a legend in the Detroit sports community. The one, the only, the DOC. Doc, how we doing?
Fellas, what's good? It's Wednesday. We will speak one more time before the Detroit Lions take the field for training camp. It's ever so close. The end of the month, the Detroit Lions are going to take the field. Pro Football Hall of Fame game. It's right there. It's a great time. Jeff, just listening to the show over the last hour, I don't know. It feels like something's up. My psychological spidey senses, something's telling me. I don't know if you shed some dead weight. You seem so much happier. You seem less tied down. I'm not sure what it is, but you seem like a much happier guy. Tanning. It looks like you've been enjoying life a little bit better. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm liking this version.
You got a haircut, Doc. You got a haircut today.
Got a haircut?
That is the dead weight, Doc. I mean, the boy, we're looking good today. All right. We're looking good today, Doc. We're ready to be great today. And Doc, I got to ask you to start off here. All right. Since you're very good at the, what do you call it? The psychological analysis. Can you analyze the brain of Adam Rank and what the hell this dude's smoking and how I can get some of it, because he had the Lions going 8-9. I know you picked him apart on your on Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated, and you brought up his pass records, which is even more funny and stupid because the guy had them 10-7 last year. They won 15 games. Every year he picks the Lions to win a certain amount of games, they overexceed that. And maybe this isn't just about Adam Rank, but the people that are this slow on the Lions because of their schedule. Can you see a world, Doc, where they go 8-9 and miss the playoffs? Is that what's going on with Adam Rank here, Doc?
Yeah, no, look, I just see a Bears fan that knows that every time he makes a Lions prediction, he's going to get a whole section of Lions fans. I do think he's trolling. There's no way you look at how the Lions are built offensively and realistically put them at 8 wins. Now, look, I know you can, if you ever get him on, if someone will text Booner back, then I do think that he'll give up all the lazy narratives of, oh, there's 2 new coordinators, the schedule's tough and stuff that it just makes you wonder, okay, as a Chicago Bears fan, why is he doubting the Detroit Lions when he's had a good firsthand look at what the Lions have been able to do to the Bears each and every year? Look, it's great. And I do love the outside noise that people have really looked at with the Detroit Lions. They just don't want to believe in Jared Goff. They don't want to believe in Dan Campbell as a head coach. They want to revert back to the idea that the Detroit Lions are this franchise that can't win. In the end, locally, we all know. Everybody in the chat, everybody watching knows. Right now, for the Detroit Lions, it's about one thing and one thing only that Jared Goff said early on in the quarterback series. It's one thing now. Now we're at that level, which is great. All that outside noise, predictions is great to talk about in the offseason, but it's now you're in the land of Super Bowl or bust, and that's a great thing. Guys like Adam Rank are really irrelevant. He's a Bears fan. Those guys are lower than low. He's got to sit there and watch awful football for the last year. So probably I would say Adam Rank is a grumpy, crotchety football fan, and he's got to make himself feel better by going on TV. And two, he's also a professional wrestling fan. So he knows how to rile it up, but what he's putting on television is complete BS, and he knows it. We all know it. It's funny. Clearly, he's not good at making predictions, and everybody should tell him that, hey, hopefully the Bears don't embarrass the city like they have been for the last decade.
Hey, Doc, something that's been going around the last few days came out yesterday or 2 days ago, I believe. The quarterback series from Netflix, and Jared Goff obviously was on it. I had something came across my desk of you kind of saying a few bad things about Jared Goff as well over the last couple of days. Can I ask you your thoughts on it? I know you watched. I saw you tweeting about it. Your thoughts on the quarterback show? Do you think it changed the perception a little bit? That was a conversation we had about that it might change the perception for some people in regards to Jared Goff. I know you're in the building, so you get to see that side mostly, but for at least the fan base and the people, national media and in the NFL, they don't get to see that all the time. Do you think they showed that in that series, and how do you think it went for them?
Yeah, I watched every single minute. First day came out. I was just excited to see it. I like in-depth features. I like the way that these docuseries showcase quarterbacks, showcase the wide receivers last year. And, selfishly, I wanted to see if I was in it, clearly. But no, I was not in it. But it was, look, to the point about the negative things about Jared Goff, I am in the camp of, look, his last performance was god-awful. You pay a guy $50 million not to perform like that. And I'm a doubter. I'm of the opinion that Jared Goff is – a quarterback that can get you only so far. And it's not a disrespect to the man. The man is clearly, and I've said it before, one of the best quarterbacks that the Lions have ever had. But I don't compare him to Scott Mitchell. I compare Jared Goff to the greats of the game. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, quarterbacks like Josh Allen now, Lamar Jackson. How do you look amongst the best of the best? And I just think that at this point in time, and I also come from a defensive mindset, and I just believe that a quarterback, it's so tough to stand tall and be the number one best team. It's nothing new. I'm still a Detroit Lions fan, but I'm somebody that clearly every year going into it would be shocked if the Detroit Lions stood tall at the end of the year winning the Lombardi Trophy. I would be shocked. And similarly with Jared Goff, I'm of the opinion he's a great quarterback, former number 1 overall pick. Clearly he can win a lot of games. Clearly, but I just have those doubts whether he can stand tall and lead an NFL team to the promised land. Because not only is it a limitation, do I believe it's a limitation about Jared Goff, I just think it's unbelievably tough with how great these other teams are in the AFC, how great defenses. You have an Eagles team that has a young defensive line. You have a Chiefs team that has one of the all-world best quarterbacks that's like an assassin. And so I don't think it's a great insult to say I have doubts. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if Jared Goff one day won a Super Bowl. I think that the Lions are trying to build as great a football team as humanly possible. But I just think football has evolved to where when you see the rankings you just did, some of those great defensive ends are going to wreck quarterbacks. And clearly the last game I just watched that counted, I just saw a team that didn't need to blitz to get to Patrick Mahomes. They didn't need to blitz. And a great defensive line, defense wins championships. I think that would happen to Jared Goff, and even worse. As bad a game as Patrick Mahomes had, I think that's what it would look like if the Eagles were to play the Detroit Lions in a championship game at this point. And you got a young offensive line, so you need some mobility, in my humble opinion. But it doesn't go to, that's just my doubt side. That's the side of the guy that's been a 45-year Lions fan that's seen all the horrific things. But I'm proud that they're a winning team. I'm proud that they're in now the conversation to be able to win a lot of games. And the series, I thought, highlighted some things that were great. I thought there was a little bit too much Kristen Harper. I'm clearly, I know what she brings to the table as, somebody that supports Jared Goff. But for me, I reviewed it on the latest Lone Wolves podcast. I wanted to see more of the dynamic between Goff and Ben Johnson, Goff and Dan Campbell. Goff only has dinner with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I wanted to see him have dinner and hang out and cookouts with J-Mo. Goff is buttoned up. He's corporate. I wanted to see basically the Jared Goff show, and I wanted to see a lot more than they showcased. But I thought it was great that they highlighted a little bit of his competitiveness. He talks a lot of shit to opponents, which I like. And I just think he's a competitive guy, but it's not out of the realm of possibility to say, man, can he lead this Lions team to a Super Bowl? It's just, I have doubts, and that's just the way it's always going to be until I see it.
Well, Doc, we actually just previewed the ESPN Edge rankings, and I know Christian already put out an article explaining kind of how he dropped. We talked about it. We had some disagreements, kind of where me and Booner are chopping it up with the chat here. Chat felt like it was fair that he was 7th right now in the NFL. What do you think of him being 7th, even after the stretch that he was that dominant? And then what do you think about this upcoming season? And what do you think he gets to this upcoming season after dropping one ranking, according to executives, scouts, and coaches?
Yeah, look, I do think that when people start to rank, they kind of maybe take the injury into account, what he brings to the table. A lot of people look at overall sack totals, and there are times where there were lulls in sack production. But last year was the first year that he started to get sacks in bunches. And I do think he would have hit 20 sacks. He would have maybe set records. He would have been Defensive Player of the Year. I think he was that dialed in to showcase everything. That injury was horrible. I was there, and it sucked. It was a great Dallas trip all the way around. But as someone covering the team, it just was like, oh man, you just lost. Like in the end, I mean, I think I said it in some form or another. Like, it's going to be hard to win a Super Bowl when you don't have your best player. And still, people that are that hang on Jared Goff's nuts were like, oh, the team's going to be just fine. They're still going to win a Super Bowl. Aidan's gone, no problem. To me, it was a simple, once Aidan went down, it was going to be tough to win the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, a lot of other guys went down too. So it made it super tough. And that's just my right now, that's my sole focus with the Lions. Win the darn Super Bowl. But I think Brad Holmes is accurate. You have one of the best 5 edge rushers truly in the National Football League. And this year he can cement himself as the best. I do think he's going to get, hopefully, I'm going to get a great look in a couple of weeks up close and personal to see how he looks against some great competition. And I think all throughout training camp, you're going to see a hungry guy, and you see the videos. I do think he's going to get double-digit sacks. And I'm wondering about that contract. I'm wondering, are the Lions going to make him prove it? Or is it one of those deals where Aidan's waiting for Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt to sign first so he can leap them? So that trio not signed yet is crazy, because I think it's a holdup, because I think each one of them wants to set the market and they don't want to sign first, only to have the next two guys leap them. So Aidan's due for a big payday. I do think Brad Holmes is right. You have one of the best 5 edge rushers in the game, and I just think it's going to be great to see him evolve. You got to remember too, under 25 years old is going to be somebody for the next probably 5 to 7 years, going to dominate a lot of offensive linemen. I think everybody's excited to see it. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Hopefully the catastrophic injuries are behind him, and you get a consistent double-digit sack guy that can be on one side of the football. And the question mark is going to be who's going to be the Batman who's going to be the Robin opposite of him.
I just want to bring up, Doc, another kind of piece of the defensive line, Lee McNeil. I know that another rankings, and these ESPN rankings are starting to come out every position group probably until next week. But Aleem was just, I don't even know if he was honorable mention. I think it was just receiving votes in the defensive tackle ranking. And I had brought this up before, Doc, a couple months ago when we started the offseason, was when Aleem gets healthy, it feels like he has a lot to prove, in my opinion. Like, he is one that, hey, you are one of the highest paid defensive tackles in the NFL. Personally, I don't think he's lived up to it, even close to it yet, because of the injuries and not being consistent. And so I do think he has a lot of pressure on him going into this year. What are your thoughts on that going into this season with Aleem McNeil? Are you on the same kind of wavelength with that, or do you kind of feel like he's going to be just fine heading over the next few years of this contract?
Yeah, no, look, it stings because you're not going to see him for at least half the year, and you can't really assess the full capabilities because 2025 is going to be a year you get a decent amount of play from him, but 2027 will be the year, or excuse me, 2026 season, he'll come back fully healthy. So I saw an article where someone put him as the most overpaid defensive tackle, and I just think that that's a little bit disrespectful. First and foremost, he's great against the run. I think he's an emerging pass rusher and would benefit greatly from playing next to Tyreek Williams and DJ Reader. So I like the opportunity that he has when he's fully healthy. This year is going to be more of a transitional type year. You hope to get him back and ready to go by the postseason, but you're not going to get the 100% full force Aleem McNeil, but he's a good football player. Well, look, the Lions, I do think, saw when they gave him the contract, they saw a player that was just, disruptive, that was very consistent against the run and was emerging as a pass rusher. So I think he also is becoming an emotional leader in that locker room. He's a good football player. You could argue and make the argument, okay, well, is he worth, guys that are defensive tackles that make that much money are double-digit sack kind of guys. But I think for what he does for the Detroit Lions defense, I think his flexibility and what he can do at different spots was definitely key. And first and foremost, they wanted guys that are disruptive against the run, and he was a big part of it. It sucked that he got hurt. That was a bad injury, and that was the one that was maybe even at the time a little bit more impactful to the overall goal of the season. You might have had a chance to get to the NFC title game if Aleem McNeil stayed healthy.
Yeah, Doc, the big thing for training camp next week, and I think it's a storyline that we talked about briefly because Ennis Rakestraw popped up, and you've already stated that you think Ennis could shock some people. And I think it goes back into the Terran Arnold conversation, and someone brought it up in the chat the other day of like, could Ennis challenge Terran Arnold? Like this hypothetical scenario. How confident are you that we're going to see a much improved Terran Arnold? Because I think he could be, especially when you talk about this cornerback room and what they've been and kind of how much they've tried to improve it, kind of a big X factor. What do you want to see out of Terran Arnold going into this training camp for a big second year as a corner, first round pick?
Yeah, I want to see like what everybody else would want to see, what would translate to the regular season. I want to see him get his hands on the football, be disruptive, make plays against Amon-Ra and J-Mo, be somebody that's a little bit more, more fundamentally sound. Look, clearly, it's a tough position, but you're going up against the best of the best. And I do think iron does sharpen iron. Him going up against J-Mo, Amon-Ra, you're going to see some competitive periods at training camp that are, hopefully if you got a chance to get one of those coveted training camp tickets, you can go out there during some team periods and see some great competition. And I just think that Terran Arnold, second year, is going to be a lot more comfortable. The game's going to come to him a little bit more. And what I do like about him is that when you watch the film, last year when he did get beat, he did come back and continue to battle. He was thrown to the wolves, a guy that, played more press man coverage than a lot of other cornerbacks. And in this scheme, I think that playing opposite of Reed is really going to help him to potentially get some favorable matchups. And this year, I think the goal is going to be hopefully to get the over-under, I think I saw was 2.5 sacks. And Vito did a piece, and he's kind of thinking around, 50-50 chance that he gets 3 interceptions this year. I think he goes over it. I think he wants to showcase that he's a game changer. And I think this year, when you're more comfortable, I think that year 2 is, and for a lot of players, and I think for Tyrion specifically, the biggest leap happens after your first year. And I think this is the year he ends the year with 4 interceptions and maybe even a couple pick sixes to be able to score touchdowns. Yeah, I do think he's going to be he's going to want to kind of get into the end zone, get to be somebody that makes plays. You drafted him in the first round to be impactful. And I think he starts to make some of those plays, make some people say, oh, Tyrion's a weapon, not just not just the guy opposite of Reed.
Hey, what about Ennis Rakestraw? Do you think, because I'm interested in that, we had the conversation a couple of days ago that if Ennis stays healthy, we know what his ceiling is as a second-round pick. It kind of gets, it's a kind of good position to be in, but it does put the defense of Kelvin Shepherd in the spot trying to figure out who are their corners, who's going to be their slot corner when it comes to Amik. What do you think happens? Say Ennis Rakestraw comes out, has a very, very good camp, and has that year 2 jump that Dan Campbell talked about in the league meetings. How do you see that room kind of going about if Ennis ends up having that type of offseason?
Yeah, then against bigger bodied slot receivers, you have a chance to put them out there. I think that clearly the great competition will be with Amik, who will have a chance to do some things. And what's good is that the Lions don't like to specifically label their guys. There'll be some great competition. And if Ennis has an amazing training camp and is showcasing some things, he'll get an opportunity to up his opportunities to play in the slot. Maybe even some opportunities against different matchups to play on the outside. So I think that Ennis Rakestraw has the chance. It's going to be up to him. The first year was marred with injury. You didn't get to see a whole heck of a lot other than some small reps at special teams. And so I do think he wants to get out there and showcase what he's about. And this year, training camp will be definitely key. You got a chance to see a little bit in the offseason workouts, him competing against JMO. And he won some reps and also, took some pretty bad defeats. But at the same token, I like his competitiveness. I like his physicality. And I think that I do see opportunities for him to play more. But it's going to be tough because Amik's going to lock it down. He definitely is a competitor, and he's going to fight for every single rep. And Amik's in a contract year, so he's going to want to showcase to the Lions and to the rest of the league what he's about. So it's going to be tough, but that's just the best way to get the best out of Ennis Rakestraw is to have that competition. And I do think that early on, there's some comfort level with the top 4 defensive backs, and then you combine that with 2 of the best safeties in the league. It gives you a little bit of comfort, at least at the start of the training, at the start of training camp, that the defensive backs are going to be making some plays.
Doc, I'm going to ask you this. It's not even about Za'Darius, but it's really just your confidence level because we're a week away from training camp. I know you mentioned there's probably a possibility that this man just completely fades training camp and just joins for the season. But we have Booner, one of the most confident people that Za'Darius Smith will return. He's dropping confidence points recently. So I want to go to the DOC on this because you were pretty like, hey, doors open. But don't we got to like, as we get closer to training camp, at least wonder like, maybe they just say, let's just roll with what we got. I feel like that's more of a possibility than we're talking about here, that the Lions just move on with who they have in the room.
Absolutely. And it's no guarantee that Za'Darius comes back. He's north of 30. That's the age where people would go, well, and you also, it's going to depend on a couple things. Okay. I think the Lions have an option. I think that here's the difficulty is that Za'Darius wants the bag. He wants the most money possible and probably, clearly wants to play for a competitive team. Now you hope that he doesn't go to the Bears. You hope Ben Johnson doesn't get in contact with Za'Darius. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see him go to the Bills. You don't want to see him go to a contender. But here's the difficulty is that the Lions probably want to see what Ahmed Hassanin does, what Marcus Davenport does. They also have, and if you paid attention to any of my write-ups, they had a young guy that kind of showed out in Keith Cooper. And that's a young guy that's hungry and has a good motor and found himself in the backfield quite a bit. So you have other guys too. And so the Lions are weighing potentially how much development are we going to take away from some young guys that we want to kind of see a little bit more from. And, Za'Darius is a guy that against the Commanders was one of the guys that was more productive than others, but it wasn't an all-world performance against Jaden Daniels, as evidenced by how easily when Daniels needed to make a play, he was the Lions didn't get home quick enough. And it was just too unfortunate when you go back and like an idiot, I've been watching that game to go, what the heck happened? And Jaden Daniels happened. That's what happened. A guy that came in hungry and he was executing on all fronts. And the Lions trenches was atrocious. The more you watch it, the more you go, oh my God, it was actually worse. The more you watch it, the offensive line and the defensive line didn't come close, but they didn't have exactly the pieces needed to go out there and win a playoff game. So look, I do think the door is open, but at the same token, as training camp progresses, if you start to see basically the guys there know, hey, our job is to keep Za'Darius off this roster in regards to, hey, if Keith Cooper shines, if the rookie shows out, Marcus Davenport, El-Quadin Muhammad, other guys as well at the Sam linebacker spot, if you get some competition there, you realize, you know what? Their job is to say, hey, make the coaching staff keep Za'Darius off this roster. But if he joins, it'll be a nice guy that you can add depth, and you can never have enough pass rushing help. So I would give it right now, truly, I'll be fair, 50-50 that he's on this roster at the start of the season.
What's going on with the Anzo stuff? Are you confident he's going to end up being at training camp? What are your thoughts on that whole situation with Alex Anzalone?
Yeah, I would, like I said, the way I've kind of approached it is it's business. I would be shocked if he held out. I think that he understands the importance of what this season is for the Detroit Lions. I think that, look, I mean, does he really need a training camp? No, he keeps himself in great shape. He understands his defense. I mean, his position coach is now the defensive coordinator, so he knows it inside and out. But at the same token, new installs, working with the team, I would be shocked if he decided to hold out, but I would be shocked too, potentially, if they don't give him a new deal. I think that it's just not that difficult to add one more year, add a little bit more money, and make him happy. Now, the question mark is going to be, is Alex going to take the Lions offer? Because I'm sure Alex's wants are higher than what the Lions want to pay. Alex probably is going to, hold firm at a number like 10, 11, and the Lions want to pay him 8, 9. Do they come to the middle? I think they probably figure it out. But at the same token, there'll be other deals maybe holding it up at the same time. So, but at the same time, I'm starting to wonder, is Brad Holmes a little bit shrewd with some guys that he starts to feel like are on their way out of the National Football League? I don't think like that with Alex, because he's productive. I don't see a dip in production. So I just think that keeping Alex Anzalone in 2025 and 2026, I think the two closest years that you're going to get to the Super Bowl are right now. Like, this is the closest you're going to get for a while. If you don't cash in this year or next year, it doesn't mean that in the coming years they're going to fall off the map. But I think that you start to overhaul some of the talent that you first brought in, and you continue to add young talent. So these 2 years, I would want Alex Anzalone on this football team. He'll be there, in my humble opinion. And I do think that chances are he should have a new deal to give him the best chance. I mean, you want a happy Alex Anzalone manning this defense and getting after the Detroit Lions offense during training camp.
Well, Doc, Allen Robinson's been on TV recently doing his, as some NFL media. More and more players hopping in, and Allen Robinson did his wide receiver duo ranking list, and he had J-Mo and Amon-Ra as the number one wide receiver duo in the NFL going into this upcoming season. How far off do you, if you agree, then you could say why you agree, but if you disagree, how far off is he? Do you think that's a crazy thing to say, or do you think realistically this year with J-Mo going to essentially kind of contract negotiations in the coming future that we see J-Mo take a massive step, and Amon-Ra is kind of the all-pro player. Now you're talking about these two being the best wide receiver duo in the league over T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and all these other players. What do you think?
Yeah, it's nice because, look, I didn't talk to Allen Robinson all that much last year, but I did overhear a lot of the conversations he was having with the media, as a lot of the reporters were getting in-depth, like supplementary information from him. But I get to overhear just being around the locker room and see kind of how he talked. But you could always tell, very well spoken, very energetic, very much a knowledgeable cat. And I just think that he's great for media. And so he's going to go out there and represent Detroit, a guy that was from the area. And so I think that he's got an inside knowledge. And look, yeah, it's going to be a little bit biased because he knows Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams, but he also made some great points. He's like, you're not going to see too many guys get 1,000 yards receiving on less than 60 catches because of the deep threat option of Jamison Williams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is all world. And as a tandem, look, you know, they're in the conversation with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and with the Eagles' offensive weapons. ESPN ranked the Lions' offensive weapons as a whole number 2 behind the Eagles, and Allen Robinson definitely is going to support the hometown guys. They're great. And you know, it's tough because you recognize the sheer talent of Amon-Ra St. Brown and J-Mo, but you also don't want to disrespect T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. They're pretty good too. So it's great to be in that conversation. And so in an offensive league, to be able to have guys that can support a quarterback that's not that mobile is great. And I do think the chemistry is building with Jamison Williams and Jared Goff. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the perfect glove for a pocket passer. And I just think big things are ahead for Amon-Ra St. Brown because he's a guy that's never going to be happy until he gets the ultimate goal, which is a championship. So that's a plus for Jared Goff, is that he's got 2 guys in Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown that he's got real good chemistry with. Jamison Williams is getting better. I hope it continues to grow, and J-Mo can have another 1,000-yard season and up his reception total, get used more in the offense. So it's a team that's plays to their strengths. And when you have guys like that are competitive, that want to go out there and be the best version of themselves, it lends to a good football team. And that's why that's why you see that's why you saw last year one of the most prolific offenses is because of the caliber of the talent that's there on offense. It's great to see. And unless something wild happens, I think the biggest question marks for 2025 are going to be on defense. The offense is going to score a lot of points.
Doc, let's talk the best team in Detroit right now. We love the Lions. The Detroit Tigers, though, the best team in baseball by like 3 games, actually, maybe 2 now because they lost tonight. We actually didn't talk to you last week because I think they came out after, but the All-Stars, you got the 4 All-Stars and the 5th just got added with Zach McKinstry today. What are your thoughts on that? Who did you think got snubbed maybe? And what are your thoughts on the guys that did get picked that'll be playing in Atlanta, representing Detroit next week?
Yeah, it was great to see Zach McKinstry. I just think that the Detroit Tigers are well represented. I agreed with what Tariq Skubal said, in that why not have as many guys on one of the best teams in the Major League Baseball represented at the All-Star game? So it was cool to see. It was great to see the redemption of Javi Baez. I still think the Lions are the best are the best team collectively. The Tigers, you saw today that when those relievers go off, they go off. And it's concerning because, and I looked at this on the latest Doc and Jock podcast, which is going to come out Thursday. I said, all right, the Tigers have a feel. If you guys remember back to the one of the best teams that won the President's Trophy with the Detroit Red Wings, where they were really good, scoring points, a great team, but maybe didn't have all the pieces yet to get over the hump. And that's kind of how I'm feeling with the Tigers, is that they're going to be a good regular season team. But remember, the dial flips the second the postseason hits. Those runs are precious. And you have a lot of guys that at times can go through a slump. Riley Green just came off of a 0-for-16. Spencer Torkelson, up and down. This year's been a lot more smooth. But you don't want to have, you want to have as many weapons as possible. So what's been great, and what you see with the Pistons and the Tigers and the Lions, is they draft pretty well. They have an idea of, all right, how to have this young core, the word young core all the way around. Now, but in my opinion, the job of the front office is also to look externally and find fits that are going to help you. I don't think that teams can just develop one side of their acquisition phase and their players just come from the draft or youthful development in the minors. And I just think that the general managers in town are just a little bit adverse and maybe not as sharp, and it's more difficult, clearly, to get external options here, but they're right. You got to remember, when I grew up, it was Brendan Shanahan comes to town and that team took off. You brought the muscle. That was a final piece to get the team over the hump. The Pistons going to work. They made moves. They made trades. They brought in, I thought was the glue guy, the guy that was kind of the spark of that team in Rasheed Wallace. External, and he was a troublemaker, perceived, but here in Detroit, beautiful fit. So I just think the next step for all these teams to go from consistent winner to champions, because all I care about are championships. And I've said this before, that's my angle. I may be wrong. You guys in the chat may be enjoying this more. Booner may be enjoying this run more. I'm more of a, how close are you to a championship? And I think with the Tigers, I still think that they're a little bit away compared to the guys that spend $300 million. Now, I would love to see a Tigers-Dodgers series. The Tigers would win some games, but I just think eventually big-time talent plays big-time ball. And so I would love for the Tigers to spend $100 million and get one pitcher, one great pitcher, one great bat, one great reliever. I do think you're close, very close to championship medal. And I hope that the talent acquisition that takes place for these great fans is great. And for the Lions, same thing. I hope that if it's not this year, maybe at the deadline or maybe next year, that the aggressiveness to get external players, you don't have to go crazy, but you need those final pieces that great teams have. You saw it if you just go with the Rams. They went and got Von Miller. They went and got OBJ. His leg blew out in the Super Bowl, but he still was a little bit productive before the injury. They made some aggressive moves. And so I do think that championship teams also look to the external side. And if Steve Yzerman can ever get the great players to call him back, maybe they can get out of the mud a whole heck of a lot faster. But credit to the GMs in this town for getting the teams out of the mud. But that's step one. Step one and step two. Step three is, all right, let's get some championships. They're close. Tigers are right there. Lions are right there. And I'm hoping that one of these teams can get over the finish line for these fans. It's been too long, man. Detroit should be title town, not rebuild town.
Yeah, I guess that's we talked to Chris yesterday, and I asked him the Tigers will win the World Series if, and he answered that question with if they play their game. And obviously you're a little more skeptical because of the, you look at what teams are spending, which we brought up before, and all the playoff teams, they're like last among playoff teams in payroll. But in your mind, is this a trade deadline issue, or is it like, oh, go get someone? Or do you think even if they do go and get someone at the trade deadline, this is probably something you're looking at where it's like, hey, it's more about this offseason. You got to spend money. Or do you think a move at the deadline could kind of put this team right, at least get this team to where you feel more confident they could take down a team like the Dodgers? Are they a move away or more, Doc, basically?
Yeah. Who did you ask about if the Tigers do their thing and what's next? Was that Chris?
It was Chris.
Okay.
Well, Chris, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. Listen, Chris is great. Chris has a brand that involves, he's very skeptical when he needs to be, but he's also leans toward being a very, very supportive fan. And that's a great thing to be. But it can blind you just a little bit. And the way I looked at it is I'm like, okay, what's different than me than all these other fans? I'm a fan of the team. I want all these teams to win. I am clearly a little bit biased in that I'm not just going to sit there with my hands crossed. I want them to win. But I just think that I'm simple in that I'm more of a GM focused kind of person where if I see talent that I think is better than the next guy, I'm brooming the guy out. Where I think a lot of fans are player driven, where they're like, Zach McKinstry, he's the man. I don't want to let him go. I'm like, oh, okay. And I saw it a lot with Don Kelly, where people were just like, Don Kelly, baby. And they love to attach themselves to players. And, I'm always like, okay, what's next? What's better? What's out there? And always looking at the transaction wire, who's available, who are these, I mean, some of them are not even realistic, but I definitely got excited seeing some sites try to troll fans and say, yeah, the Tigers should trade 6 prospects for Paul Skeens. It's never going to happen, but it's great to entertain. What if you had Skubal and Skeens together? That would be amazing. But it's one of those deals where I think this baseball team is 2 to 3 players away. They are close. It's a good baseball team that I think can play well in the postseason. The AL is atrocious. I think is it just the Astros and the Yankees potentially that you got to worry about? I am a little bit nervous about the Rays. They kind of are around a 500 team, but they seem to play a little bit decently against the Tigers, at least a little bit more competitive than most. but the Tigers are a team that are resilient. So I like that. I like their power. I like the way in which the Tigers have used the analytics to, advance, runners, the way in which they pitch. I think that their strategies every game gives them a chance to win. So that gives you really a great chance to advance. I would be surprised if they don't at least get to the AL Championship Series and beyond. It's just very tough, and you hope maybe you get lucky and another team can dethrone the Dodgers. But it's right there, guys, and it's going to be really incumbent upon this team. And I think that what's tough is that there's a psychological nature. You don't want to upset the apple cart. And you also, too, that when you make a trade, it is difficult. Like, teams are going to be like, we know what you need. And you want a starting arm? Great. We want McGonigal. And they're going to be like, no. Well, we want Max Clark. And they're going to be like, no. And they're going to be like, okay. And then we want Jack Flaherty. And we're going to be like, well, maybe. Do they take any piece off of, do you give up a Colt Keith? Do you give up a Colt Keith and a prospect? Because now you're going to have to start giving up some things. So that's going to be the best part to watch, is what level of investment does Scott Harris make to get some talent? And it's always tough too, because you never want to fail and have the guy that you trade away become a Major League Baseball legend. And that's a risk that you take. But I'm always of the opinion, fortune favors the bold. The fan base respects you more to take a shot, and the backlash is worse when you're a team like the Steelers that just always gets there but never gets over the hump. Like, I don't want to be a football team like the Lions and get to the postseason every year and fail. That's more painful than it is to push all in and say, this is our 2-year window. That's it. Let's go. If it doesn't work, fine. You tried, you rebuild again. So I hope that these GMs get a little bit more aggressive. Trajan Langdon gets lucky because Ivy got hurt. He gets to see Ivy for a year free, and you don't have to invest. But guys, external trades cost money, and that's what's tough, is that a lot of things got to fit. And these trades, when teams know what you need, they want to ask for the world. So I hope that creatively, because look, the Florida Panthers were able to make some trades over the last 3 years. They won a couple cups, so they were built a lot through trades. Steve Yzerman, pay attention to that team. If you just want to look through the prism of one team that's been great, Florida traded a lot of guys to get that team over the hump. So I just think that there's a disconnect between what the GMs are doing and their conservativeness externally versus what the fans want. And there's probably a happy medium where each team's got to make a couple more moves externally to get further ahead.
Doc, would you do I don't know if you saw the ESPN proposed trade for Paul Skeens. It was like Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal, Jackson Jobe. Right. Would you do that if that meant, like, today you get Paul Skeens going into a World Series this year? Paul Skeens.
No, that's far too much. That was far too much. You're giving up the farm literally to get a guy. I would love to see Skeens in Detroit, but no, absolutely not. It sucks with pitchers is that everyone's kind of saying, like, well, maybe in a couple years Skeens is going to have a similar Tommy John issue, that it's just a season waiting to happen. That's a lot. I want to see McGonigal and Clark here in Detroit. I think one of them already's got their first home run I saw just before I hopped on. So those are great talents. You have some great prospects. I do want to see them in Detroit. I do think the trade chip that potentially wouldn't hurt you too much would be some mix of Colt Keith and maybe one prospect lower than Clark or McGonigal to maybe get over the hump, because Keith's got something, but I don't know if he's got a spot in the infield to play.
Doc, well, I wanted to ask you too. So you got the resurgence of Spencer Torkelson. You got Riley Green, those two hitting home runs this year. We talking home run derby with these two, Doc? You like, I mean, especially the way, I mean, Riley Green, I don't know what's been going on recently. People have been, a little up and down with him, but overall, just from an entertainment standpoint, like to see those boys compete.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm a sicko. I listen to all kinds of radio shows, podcasts. I'm one of the biggest consumers of sports media in town. I know who's doing shows everywhere. And AJ Hinch was actually on the radio this morning, and he was asked that very question. And he's like, oh, hell no, I don't want that. He's like, well, if a player came to me and said, I really want to do it. Look, baseball players and managers don't want to do it because it just, for whatever reason, it's just been proven it messes with your swing. It messes with your timing. It messes with your rhythm. I don't want any of that for Riley Green or Spencer Torkelson. Yeah, the $1 million is great. Yeah, to see him in the game is great. But at the same token, it's more important to get this baseball team and to get into each and every game with the rhythm that you need. So AJ Hinch was, I thought, spot on. He said, I'm not really a fan of that too much. I just hope that they get back healthy and do their thing. He's like, if one of the players asked me and said, hey, I'm thrilled to do it, it's my lifelong dream, then fine. But he took the stance of, and I'll just agree with the manager, one of the great managers of the game, it's probably not worth it to tinker with what's been great with the swings of Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson. So word up, keep the swings in rhythm for the second half of the year, because each of them, you have a chance for 2 guys to hit 30 home runs, maybe even 3. It's great. It's great to see.
Hey, word up, Doc. Is that what you said? Did you just say word up?
I just stole it from the chat. It was cool. I just looked at it and said, hey, word up.
Drop the word up. Go ahead, bud.
Word up.
That threw me off. Hey, Doc, I want to ask you about this because I've been seeing. Do you feel like AJ Hinch right now is the best manager in all of baseball based off of what he's been doing and how he's managing these games? It feels like going back to last year when they had the, what was it, 0.2% chance of making the playoffs. They had the same team. It just felt like he kind of took over. And just started really just mixing up the roster, lineups, getting everything, the whole pitching chaos thing. And then leading into this year, it seems like he's the most dominant manager right now in baseball. Did you get that same feeling?
Absolutely. I love AJ Hinch. I think he's the most forthright. I think he also, too, what makes him great, all the greats have a psychological background. He studied psychology in college. He's a guy's guy. I think the way he delivers his messages and interviews is amazing when he goes on podcasts, when he speaks to MLB radio, when he speaks locally. It's just, you get a lot of insight. Well-spoken, can deflect with the best of them. And I just like the fact that I do think that he's brought it just feels like an advanced analytical way of playing the game with regards to advancing bases. Feels like every batter has an advanced knowledge of what's coming in regards to the tendencies of the pitchers. It just feels like a professional team. Like, okay, we lose a game, we lose bad, no big deal. Then, like in so many years past, like with Osmus and different managers, it just felt like, the losing streak would never end. But with AJ Hinch, it just feels like, okay, we lose a series, we win the next 2 or 3. And you just get a sense that he knows the right buttons to push. And I think he's got the pulse, one of the greatest pulses. He's got just a deep understanding of his club, what to say when, how to understand what to. And I think what you sense that maybe you don't get to see publicly is I'm sure he's a tough manager. I think that he tells these guys, hey, here's what I like what you're doing, and here's what I don't like, and get it fixed. And it seems like, hey, when Riley Green goes through a 0-16 slump, it's not like he gives these players a little bit of a leeway to get out of slumps. And I think Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson, a lot of people may have moved on from Spencer. And I think maybe, whatever was worked on with the coaching staff with Spencer Torkelson has unlocked some things. And he also has a great eye for talent in regards to the coaching staff. I think Federer is one of the best pitching coaches in all of baseball. And it gives you an advantage when you bring in some guys and you can turn their careers around and have a last year's bullpen was unreal. So I just think it gives you a chance to win. That's why I told you guys that was one of the biggest reasons why I had them going. And I didn't really think it was that serious of a question. You guys were like, and I said it on a podcast, everyone's like, well, there was a lot of doubters. I said, guys, you have the best manager and the best pitcher. How are you seeing 500 on this team? I said, at least, okay, let's start with 86, 87. I think you got the best manager and one of the best pitching staffs in baseball on paper. So when you guys asked me, hey, and I was on vacation, you asked me, hey, what do you guys think about what do you think about 83 wins? I said, hammer the over. Proven to be a good bet. Hopefully you guys listen to the doc, put some money in your pocket. The doc,
I'll tell you what, Doc.
The doc made you guys money.
I got killed because I had sent to some people to take 85 plus wins at plus money, like plus 150, and I got killed. People telling me, oh, Boone, you're going to lose that money. I was like, all right, we'll see.
Well, Boone,
looking pretty good right now.
What about the bet you just smacked like a day?
Riley Green over 21 and a half home runs. It was the easiest bet of all time.
You can make some money with some basic analysis. I mean, I thought
a lot of people were scared to say they were going to be good this year.
I think too.
Made no sense.
Yeah. I do think that many people were a little bit underwhelmed with the acquisitions. I mean, when you tell your fans, I had to kind of get this old pitcher that kind of then gets hurt the first week of the season. It's kind of like, but Gleyber Torres has been a great addition for this baseball squad, underrated. So I'm happy. I'm happy with this team, and it's great to be able to look at the Tigers and say, World Series contender. This is great. This is what Comerica Park should be, a chance for fans to go down there, cheer, have a good time, and watch. And if you play bad baseball, the Tigers are going to kick your ass.
Well, Doc, we already saw what the impact of you being at Comerica Park had on the Tigers. All right, we just the presence of the DOC. I'm gonna be honest. The LCA might need you. LCA might need you. Pistons and Red Wings, whatever the hell the Red Wings are doing, because Trajan Langdon spoke to the media and basically confirmed again how whether you disagree or not, he said people keep forgetting about the return of Jaden Ivey. He's obviously banking on players taking the next step. I know Trajan's done a really good job. We've talked about it, but in your opinion, is that something, a recipe that maybe the DOC senses could backfire, banking on young talent? Or do you think it's the smart way to find out what you have before you be aggressive? Which way are you sitting right now? Now that the offseason's kind of getting towards the end here.
Yeah, no, the Malik Beasley thing came out of the blue. That sucked, right? You knowing that Trajan said we wanted him, we had a deal on the table, and Malik had off the court issues, and it just kind of goes to show you that maybe the work to do research on the players needs to improve a little bit. But look, you'll take it. Malik Beasley was a good addition for what he was able to bring. Now, I do think that, okay, if you just look at it like, okay, Ivy, Levert, and Duncan will replace that production, okay, you can have that discussion. I do think it's worthwhile that you have a look at a guy that can score 20 points a game potentially. Is he going to have the same level of three-point shooting? I think that's going to take time to develop, but you still have Levert and Duncan to kind of fill that role. And also, two guys, remember, you have the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft ready to develop. And if Cade Cunningham becomes an assassin, that makes up for a lot of things. He gets to be a 30, 35 point a night scorer. You lean on him a little bit. I do think there's a chance that Cade Cunningham can elevate his game to the level of an SGA and just take over games. I think if he got a taste of that and he's a true competitor, if he's an alpha like the Doc is, and you just get that little bit of taste of postseason life and what it's like with all the fans talking about you, take it over. Cade should just walk in there and be like, my team. I don't care about anybody else. It's me and everybody else. And if you got that, and I feel like you do with a guy like Cade Cunningham, the true greats are guys that just want everything. They just want it all. And if you have that in you, I think Cade and Ivy and a bunch of role players can do some things. Now, it's not going to win a championship. It's not going to get you out of the East, but hey, it's good enough to at least compete. My only goal for this year for the Pistons, win a playoff series. Just one. Take some steps forward, see what you get. Can Ivy and Cade play together and figure it out? And I'm curious to see. And I do think that Trajan has a pulse of talent, and he understands, okay, three-point shooting is key. They got the guy from Tennessee. Can't wait to see him develop. I want to see Holland develop. I want to see the development defensively with Duren. And I love the physicality that Isaiah Stewart brings to the table. The Pistons are going to be good. They're going to be good. But I do feel like Bickerstaff is a transitional coach until you get the guy to take you over the hump. But these next couple of years, I think, are going to be great. But two things I want to see.
Doc, did you just say Bickerstaff's a transition?
Bickerstaff's not the guy that's going to take you to the championship.
That you're joking, right?
I do. Yeah, bro, he got booted out of Cleveland because he
shouldn't have gotten booted out of Cleveland.
He got booted out of Cleveland because
what are you talking about?
You just saw him get out-coached by the Knicks at certain points where, hey, he needed to be making
out-coached. He had the team in that series. Cade missed the shots.
Their staff is a
Cade had the shots and missed them.
He's not. Listen, he's not.
Malik Beasley fumbled the ball because he had a bet on the game, I'm sure.
Comparatively speaking, compared to his other colleagues, he's not on the level of X's and O's that you can get. He'll get out coached by a lot of the greats in this game.
So can you explain to me? Can you explain this to me real quick, Doc?
Rick Carlisle.
Real quick. I know. I want to ask you this. Can you explain to me this? Why all of a sudden Monty Williams had the same exact team as JB Bickerstaff? Monty Williams won 14 games. Monty won 14 games. JB had them 5th in the East. One of the best turnarounds in NBA history. Who did that?
Okay, Booner, I'm going to have you now step back, listen to how it went. Trajan identified what needs to be successful in the NBA, which is 3-point shooting. Monty tried to have guys shoot 3-pointers that consistently couldn't do it, and he definitely could not. You're absolutely right. Could not lead anything. Bickerstaff got these guys to buy in, to play his system, and to buy in and play hard. But there was a different level of talent that was brought in. You had Tobias Harris. Malik Beasley was better than anything you had under Monty Williams. So you had a different team. It was not the same team. You had a better Cade Cunningham. And so Bickerstaff, again, will be a transitional coach. Mark my words. You may not believe me now. He will not be the guy that takes you to the championship.
Oh
Trust
my gosh.
Clip it.
I mean,
Clip it.
We'll clip it. All right. No, we'll clip it. And when he continues to have success, he got fairly, in my opinion, let go by the Cleveland Cavaliers. They got just as far this year without him than they did with him. And he won 50 games there, 48 games there. And they just, for some reason, were like, oh, we're just going to go a different direction. One of the dumbest things, I think one of the biggest problems in the NBA today is how fast NBA franchises are to move on from coaches. Stick it out, win, and push to go win a championship. Like, it's like firing Tom Thibodeau. What are you doing, New York? It's the dumbest move of all time.
Well, no, the Knicks clearly, guys, and here's where this is where Bickerstaff has the early buy-in, is that the NBA, it's a players league. And so what happened in New York? He wore them to the ground and used such a short bench that the players were like, we don't like this. So they went to now the other side, which is Mike Brown, who's more player friendly. We'll use a deeper bench.
They didn't even know they were getting Mike Brown. They had no plan.
That is the plan. The plan was
they never wanted Mike Brown.
It's the tried and true. Guys,
Doc, they requested like 10 head coach interviews and got denied every single one.
Sports. You go from the hard-nosed coach to the guy that's a little bit more supportive. It's not that difficult. The players were absolutely against their head coach in New York. They still played well, but now they want some rest days. It's pretty straightforward. They want to get.
Me and you have a lot of big differences with NBA head coaches, Doc. You know I love you, but that one the JB one really got me going. I do want to ask you though, real quick.
The truth hurts, and the truth hurts. But Bickerstaff will be the transitional coach.
The truth.
That gets you into the postseason, some rounds, and then Trajan Langdon will pull the trigger.
So can I seriously ask you a question, Doc? When they hire a coach like that, in year one, we're talking about, so you take over a team with 14 wins. In year one, how many wins is okay for John Maakaron to sit back and be like, that's our guy? Do you want them to break the NBA win record after winning 14 games? I'm genuinely am curious, because I don't know what else he could have done this year for you to be like, that's our guy. Because he completely changed the culture.
The series against the Knicks.
When was the last time? When was the last time the Pistons won a playoff? When was the last? It was year one.
Win some games.
Doc, they won playoff games. They went to Game 7 in its first year.
To win a single playoff.
Are we watching the same team? Did you watch?
This team could have defeated the Knicks. This team could have.
Yes, but they have a young roster, and Cade Cunningham missed game-winning shots. It wasn't the plays that were drawn up. It was none of that. Did you not see the play that was drawn up for Malik Beasley to get a wide-open three to tie the game in Game 7? Was that not wide open? It was wide open. What happened? JB didn't throw the ball. JB didn't miss the catch. JB drew that up perfectly, and he has them after a 14-win season. I'm sorry, Doc, I'm fired up. I love you so much, but this is insanity. A 14-win season, he turned around, won 40-plus games, a 5 seed. And Doc, I would love to ask you this question. How many seasons was it since the last time the Detroit Pistons won a playoff game?
It's been a long time.
16 seasons.
Now, to your point,
16. He came in and did it once. And the first thing he does is win playoff games here, and you're like, transitional guy. First coach in 16 years, 17 years to win a playoff game. He's transitioned.
What would it have taken for me to say that JB's my guy?
70 wins.
Win a playoff series year one.
Year one after a 14-win year, Doc. What are you talking about?
That's what it takes for me. I think that NBA.
That's ridiculous. That's the most ridiculous take I've ever heard in my life.
So, in my opinion,
I love the Doc.
You not winning a game at home, you losing to the Knicks, when I think you could have argued that the Pistons could have been a team that advanced out of that first round. But listen, this is what JB Bickerstaff has been known as. This is what Goff has been known as. Their job is to prove me wrong. And I hope that I am wrong. I hope that JB hoists the trophy and does things, but a transitional coach that's been known as that, I think that, in my humble opinion, you hope that maybe the Rick Carlisle thing, Rick Carlisle and the Pacers have a fallout, and you bring the man home to bring home the championship. That would be the guy.
So you want Rick Carlisle, a guy who, when he was in Detroit, he was a transitional guy. Okay, got it. Makes sense. Doc, I want to ask you something real quick.
How many rings does he have, and how many rings does JB have?
Yeah, no, it's okay. I just want to ask you a question real quick. Free agency. Do you think the Pistons are done in free agency? No, he was a transitional guy in Detroit, was he not? He left right after. He won 50 games
20 years ago. This is the guy that took the Pacers now and won some series and has a superstar, knows how to coach a superstar, and arguably is one of the greatest basketball minds out there.
Oh, I'm sure he'll just drop everything. I'm sure he'll just drop everything and come here to. That's realistic. No, that's real.
Bickerstaff is better than Rick Carlisle. Okay, you can.
No, hey, Doc, I'm sure it's just so super realistic for Rick Carlisle to drop everything in Indiana and just have him come over here. That's the most realistic take of all time.
Coaches in NBA, it happens pretty quickly, just like soccer. They fall out of favor just that quickly, and then now that he potentially doesn't have the same caliber.
Oh, so they fall out of favor, just like happened with JB in Cleveland. Okay, we're getting back into a full circle moment here. Now you see what I'm saying.
Now, then my opinion would be, if Rick Carlisle became the coach of the Pistons, I'm all on board the Rick Carlisle train. He wins it all. All right, Doc,
do you think we're moving on from this, because I can't sit here and argue with you all night on the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
I love this. No, keep going.
Are they going to add another piece in free agency, do you think? Would you like them to?
I was intrigued by the Malik Monk situation. I don't know if that's going to happen based on what you're hearing. I like the trade that they made to get the flexibility of either getting the cap space or a future player. I like the moves that were made. I don't know if they make any more moves, maybe a small, like he said, around the margins role player, but I think the big moves have been made. I think it's good. It's good enough in regards to setting the table for this next upcoming season. Like I said, goal for this year is win a playoff series. I think they've done quite a bit. If something happens at the deadline, they feel like they need something, no problem. I was not attached to the guys, to Schroeder or to, any of the other guys. I wasn't attached. Like, if the numbers that they gave out for Beasley, not too bad. If it would have been more, I would have been okay to move on from Beasley. I think you could, I was not one of the people that underestimated Ivy. I think he's going to be a good addition and actually prove a lot of people wrong. I think he's going to be hungry to get out there and do something. So I do think the hope is strong. But again, when the creme de la creme is JB Bickerstaff one of the top 4 coaches in the East? Let's see. I can't wait to see it. And I got a strong feeling the win column on the overall debate is going to be in my favor.
Well, we got some mailbag questions for you, Doc. So we'll see if you can get you fired up or not. Ben Blue says, mailbag for Doc and the fellas. What position do you think the Lions are most likely going to draft in round 1 in 2026? Linebacker, wide receiver, safety, or slot DB, tight end, or quarterback for the future? 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. Quarterback for the future is tough. Maybe a linebacker, maybe a wide receiver. Those 2 are probably the leaders in the clubhouse. I do think you put it right. If Alex Ancelotti's on his last couple years, you want to continue to develop. Malcolm Rodriguez, we don't know what he's going to bring to the table after an injury. So I do think you're probably right. Linebacker, wide receiver, probably 2 leaders in the clubhouse.
Next question, Bulls turn. Doc, what are your thoughts on Keeney James? Is he a practice squad guy, or is he a sleeper in a crowded wide receiver room? Who's Keeney James? Who the hell is that?
That name? I don't know if it's undrafted free agent. Like a lot of those guys. I just think the 5 guys that you have battling for the spots are pretty interesting. The name that I've kind of featured has been Jackson Meeks. So I'm curious to see what he can bring to the table. I look at, the development of Isaac Tesla and to see how fast he can get to that number 4 or 3 spot. How quickly is it this year or next? Keeney James, I don't even think I've heard his name come across my desk. Yeah. I don't even know he's even on the team.
Yeah, no,
I feel like that someone just made. I feel like Bull's Turn might have just made.
Yeah, that's not a name.
No. He's a
long shot. So I'll put this long shot. Never hear of him.
Keeney James is real.
I do see he is on the roster, but Doc, he ain't
the long shot. Yeah,
long shot. All right. Detroit fan man says, Doc, do we have any leads on the second round collusion guarantee embargo stuff going on? If not, is there a date when this becomes more concerning to watch? Yeah, the second round stuff. What the hell?
Yeah. What is this?
Yeah. So what's happening is the reason why Tate Rallage hasn't signed. Tate Rallage hasn't inked a deal yet. He technically could hold out. A lot of the second round talent want guaranteed dollars. first round picks get guaranteed dollars. Second round picks now across the board, the last couple years, the trend has been to give them more guaranteed dollars or more guaranteed money the third and fourth year of their deal. So a lot of that has been looked at by the teams like they don't want to give as much guaranteed dollars, but I do think it's going to end up being where a lot of these second rounders will eventually get it because the money's there, it's allocated. So the date, I would be surprised. I think Tate Ratledge, because the number's slotted, I think once the others the dominoes start to fall, you'll see Tate Ratledge. I don't think that there'll be an issue with him holding out. But again, it's interesting. It's a dollars and cents business, and a lot more guys, because it's, again, especially, in the top rounds, a lot of the agents are working to get a lot of dollars for their guys, and a lot of it guaranteed.
Last question, Jay Hart, mailbag for the doc. What can you tell us about Keith Cooper? Someone to look for soon, maybe? You mentioned him earlier. What do you like?
Yeah. He's somebody that impressed people that when we went out there to watch. He's somebody that was flying in the backfield, speedy. I think that he's got some potential there to be a pass rusher and somebody that can be a defensive end that can get on this team. I think he's a sleeper player to watch, that he can actually make this 53-man roster and be somebody that's going to benefit from training camp. I think keep that name, Keith Cooper Jr., because he was somebody that was given an opportunity and took the most out of it. Like, he was flying all over the place. And so I do think that he's a young player that could develop with a new defensive line coach. So he's somebody that I think fits the mold of what the Lions would look for in a pass rusher, prototypical. And I think he brings a lot of different things. And what I think they like about him is versatility, can do a couple different things. And I think he'll have a chance to compete, and he'll be a name to watch. Make sure you stay tuned to Lions NSI is when training camp rolls around, the good players that shine, as soon as practice ends, I'll be typing away and letting you guys know what I see from practice.
Hey, what day officially does training camp start, Doc, this next week? I know, is it Wednesday, rookies report?
I can't officially say what day, but let's give out some hints. The Lord's Day, it ends in Y. It's a blessed day. So it won't be this Sunday.
Doesn't every day end in Y?
It'll be a Sunday soon in July.
So it's not this Sunday, but it's next Sunday. Okay.
I can't officially confirm or deny, but it's a blessed day.
There is a report out there that the rookies report, I think, the 16th on next Wednesday. Is that true?
Yeah, that's been the rookie reporting dates are all out there. The official start date of practice, I think now you know what day it is. And so I'm going to basically say I'm going to love my life fully. Listen, for a guy that works in the NFL, that's been grinding, doing thousands of interviews, hundreds of podcasts, I'm going to love life until next Saturday evening. Once next Saturday evening rolls around, it's going to be like, oh boy, at 46 years old, do I got more in me to be able to handle the nonstop train of the National Football League? I got a lot of hunger in me. I got a lot of desire. I got a lot of motivation, but holy cow, have I enjoyed the last month. It flew by. It's a crazy business, the National Football League, with how many people are into it and they just want more. But my goodness, it's taxing on the person putting out all the content and creating all the ideas and putting it all together in the form of digital content and a website. And I feel like I got a lot left a lot left in the tank in my heart, but trying to execute it all, man, my fingers are good. I'm typing away, but man, is it the full year long grind, and potentially it could go from July all the way until February. And I hope that's the case, but man, it's a tough grind to, have to debate people that are just so hardcore fans that they can't handle any critique from guys like me that are just like, hey, when they going to win a championship?
We actually two quick questions here. Who dat mailbag? Who do you think? Do you think we relied on an older O-line for too long, Doc, and now it's biting us? Is that fair or not fair?
Coaches love experienced vets. I think that the talent level was good. You peaked with what you had, and the team understood what they needed to do. They went younger. They drafted 4 linemen the last couple of years. It didn't bite us. I think 23 was the year that I think. And Dan Campbell, like you guys, Dan Campbell's real. Like me, he's honest. He'll tell you exactly what he thought when they lost to the 49ers. He stood out there and told all of you. And told us, man, I don't know if we're coming back. I don't know, man. This is hard, because he knew That was the year. That was the year that he said, we can do it. Boom, boom, boom. Young. We don't have to pay anybody. Look, he's not going to hate on paying everybody, but that's a young team, hungry team. None of the glitz and glamour. It was all business. It was all first time fresh. He knew that was one of the opportunities they had. And when they lost, go back and just go look at Dan Campbell. He was like, I can't tell you guys we're going to be back. It's not honest. He's like, it's tough. It's hard. And because he knew that was the year he figured we have the best chance of this current window. Now you got to keep grinding. It's more challenging because you're paying a lot of people. So listen to Dan Campbell. He's honest and raw. And also listen to guys like me. We have the same critiques that anybody else would have regarding the team. It's about winning a championship. It's not about praising Jared Goff for getting a lot of regular season wins and beating the Rams in the first round. Great. That was for the fans that were starving. But that's just, I would have took it like Dan Campbell. It's just a playoff win. This should be the standard. That's nothing. Like, we need to get to the Super Bowl and win and get to, okay, when they win the first one, it'll be a great party. But then I'll be thinking, okay, can you get to be like the Patriots in the dynasty? And that's how the Lions will be thinking, hey, when you win one, let's win two. Because yes, it's great to have success 1 month covering an NFL team. Imagine covering an NFL team for 7 years and having success. You just build up this great hunger to just want to keep doing it, to reach that mountaintop, to when the big bosses say, damn, John, you don't have to write that many articles. You're doing good. Like, do you have a life? And I said, no, my life is to maximize the readership for the job for the opportunity that you gave me. I'm going to go ape shit until I fall to the ground because you guys let me write for one of the greatest iconic companies in the world. I will over deliver the trust that you gave me to do the job. And they're like, okay, John, but go on vacation. It's okay. And I said, don't worry. I do the job.
Well, Doc, we appreciate the hell out of you, man. Keep crushing. Great. I mean, the guy always brings it. He brought the heat today. Check out the Doc. Follow him on X at Detroit Podcast. Check out Detroit Lions on SI. You got a busy next. Not even. I mean, it's it.
It's always busy. It's always busy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're just gonna get more busy.
It's always busy. You'll see me around podcasts, debating anybody. I already, as we were talking, 3 people wanted to interview me. I'm like, I just 5 years ago, I just wanted to be on one show. And you guys gave me a regular spot. I've earned regular spots elsewhere. And as we were talking, 3 people messaged me. I'm like, holy cow, my phone doesn't stop. And I think the reason is because I'm honest and I will tell you what I think. And I don't have to praise every single coach, GM as this all world being. They have certain roles that they have to showcase. And when somebody has been proven what they are, they have to now over deliver to earn the respect. So I'm not going to praise JB Bickerstaff until he wins a playoff series. When he does, and he probably will, I will come on here and say, yeah, Booner was right. He was he actually can do some things. But when he loses in the next round, I'm going to be like, why did he lose? So that's just the way it is, Booner.
The petty Doc.
I think Booner, you give out praise too easily.
No, I don't. I'm realistic.
Oh,
no, I'm realistic. Easily, this is how it is. And you know what? This is actually fair criticism for both of us. This is fair criticism for both of us. I'm realistic to where I wait a little longer. You initially right away, Doc, you will put the hammer down right away. You'll be like, but what you just said there, you said if he loses in the next round, then I'll still say something. No. I will hold you very accountable. You said clip it. You said if JB Bickerstaff wins a series, then you're in. That's what you said. But you just said there, you said if he loses the next series, you're out again. No, if they win first round next year, you will have to be in.
I buy in. Okay. Yes, winning playoff series is great. But I think that JB Bickerstaff has work to do to prove that he's more than a transitional coach, in my mind.
All right. There you go. Hey, we'll talk to you next Wednesday, God. Doc.
Keep next Wednesday. Love you, Doc. Love you guys.
Love you too,
Pumped up for next week.
There you go. The DOC.
What a legend.
Yeah, what an absolute legend, man. I love that guy. By the way, before we get to a couple of these mailbag questions, I do got to tell you about the sponsor of the show again. And not mess it up, because it is Comer and Cross. So let me tell you about Comer and Cross, because they are terrific sponsors. And you guys are homeowners. You're tired of staring at stained garage floors, even cracked. So call the number. Like I say, 248-834-3488. Contact Comer and Cross. They will take care of you. They're a local company. They're continuously growing. They're reliable. They get the job done. They'll transform your patio, your pool deck, basements, even driveways. They'll move the stuff out for you. They have a summer installation sale going on right now. So call the number, 248-834-3488. Or you can go on the website, comercross.com, comercross.com. Book your free estimate. It's free. Give it a try. And tell me your friends over at Crunch Time Sports sent you. All right, let's get to Mailbag before we close out the show here. Appreciate the doc. Appreciate you all tuning in. By the way, ETN, in order, Mailbag, in order, which one of these quarterbacks would you start a franchise with? Caleb Williams, Drake May, Bo Nix, Bryce Young, Cam Ward. Wow, that's a
great question.
Okay. Start a franchise.
That's an unbelievable question with those players.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. All right. So I'll go first. I'll just rattle these off. I'm not going to think.
We know you're one. Go ahead.
I would go Caleb Williams, Drake May, Cam Ward, Bo Nix, Bryce Young.
Say that again.
Caleb Williams, Drake May, Cam Ward, Bo Nix, Bryce Young. Bryce Young would be last for me. You agree with that?
Love it. Yeah. The only one that the number one spot is the one that really gets me because I just don't think we got to see Drake May fully yet. If Drake May after this year, I think there's a chance you could take him number one.
I agree.
It's the same with Caleb though, but like you saw more Caleb Williams.
No, Drake May has a high ceiling. I don't hate that take at all. Ben Boo did say this.
That.
He said, "Can we just have edge rushers be edge rushers and defensive tackles be defensive tackles? Tired of trying to make guys do it all players."
Hey, welcome to Detroit, man. Brad Holmes likes tweeners. They like big defensive linemen that could play both. That's kind of their mentality.
Yeah,
that's
I
what they like.
Get what he's saying. You still want. You don't want tweeners, but you do.
No, but that's what they like. They've liked that forever. But honestly, though, they've started to go away from it a little bit. With the like a Liam Camp isn't going to play outside. He's always going to be inside. Ty Leak, they draft inside. AQM's now just kind of a clear outside guy. Hutch outside. So there's still some guys that are strictly one way, but when was the last time they drafted a tweener, to be honest? It was just Josh and Levi, right?
Makai Wingo.
Makai, but I don't know if Makai was. I don't know if they drafted him to be like, hey, he's going to be an edge. I think it was more so he's going to
Hey, shout out Sam Flannel, by the way. Sam, we are in lockstep, my friend. Xavier D. Mailbag, could you guys go golfing and record it for content? That would be an amazing show to watch. Oh,
we will be doing that soon.
Xavier D, don't you worry.
We're setting things up for that. We definitely
have
will.
A lot of content planned, including golf content. We golf too much, and we have too much shit happen while we golf that we need to record.
And we're supposed to have. I guess I did say, did I not? With the long snapping competition, field goal kicking.
Yeah, interactive videos trying to get Lions players.
We're most likely we're going to be doing something with Hogan Hatton here coming up in a couple, hopefully in the next few weeks.
Stay tuned.
Lions long snapper. I cannot wait for that.
That's why you need to, and that's why you need to turn on the notification bell, so that way you get alerted when we post.
Great point, Jeff. Great point.
That is why you turn on the notification bell. All right. Appreciate you all as always, man. We'll be back tomorrow. Much love. Can't do it without you. But until tomorrow, 8 p.m., we will catch you all. Have a great rest of your night. Stay blessed.
Love you guys.